slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ay, coming down like precipitation. I ain't never met a limitation. Hate plotting my elimination. Gotta go to Google for the information. I'm a superstar, so I gotta shine. Top dollar be the bottom line. Bottom feeding niggas out of line. Turn your heart rate to a dotted line. Yeah, my zodiac probably dollar sign. Got the energy to win it, my nigga, I'm feeling great. Got a day with destiny, focusing on my fate. I don't give a fuck what you rapping, you been a fake. I'm everything that they ain't, it can't be, it won't be. Wanna see me fall, I can't go, I won't leave. Coming from the block with plain clothes and police. Straight up to the top with bankrolls and rollies. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ay, 12 can't really stop shit, so I'm still pushing like a mosh pit. Ice dripping, think I'm hot shit. In the yellow bucket with the mop stick. I've been jugging jams like wholesale. Everything must go sell. Hitting bitches with the oh well. Need 100 million on the low scale. On my worst night, I'm the best nigga. Wouldn't mess with you, couldn't cap to him. Homie spotted me like 700, brought 1100 right back to him. If I can't do it, then it ain't real. I just make dollars, I don't make deals. I've been going hard in the paint, still blowing kush clouds till I can't feel like. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
everyone, and welcome to the Titan Immortal League, where we are going to have DropDeadGaming versus SYN win. My name is TokiB, I'll be your host, and joining me is Aussie Casts. And how are you this fine evening?
I'm doing so well, everyone. Thanks for having me today. Of course, a little impromptu stream here we got going on. DDG versus SYN. Both undefeated teams, so I expect a closer match here. Speaking of closer matches, you know, MSI been giving us a lot of game one bangers, so maybe Immortal will show up with a game one banger.
Yeah, I mean, I think if MSI is anything to base this matchup off of, and let's face it, these two teams, they're basically MSI level, let's be honest with ourselves. Whoever wins game one is going to lose the rest of the series. That's just how it's been. Spoiler alert for everyone in chat who hasn't seen MSI, but I assume if you're watching the Titans stream coming up on the holiday, I'm sure you've been following along. Worst case, Twitter will have spoiled it anyway. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a pretty big game. I mean, both of us here, we are fill-ins. We're just volunteers who decided that we'd prefer to cast instead of set up for the holiday. But this is a massive matchup. Both of these two teams are 5-0 in their division, 10-1 in terms of games. They have the exact same score. So this is really to determine who's going to be first place.
Yeah, it comes down to the wire, and obviously, right, like here, we're getting very close to playoffs now, 2 weeks away, basically, so, well, I mean, I guess 2 weeks starting next week, because, you know, this week is off, so, but the closer we get to playoffs, the more the games matter, and since these two Titans, basically, are facing each other so late into the season, as viewers, we get a nice little spectacle here, because it is so close, but also will have real playoff implications towards seeding.
Yeah, I'm looking over at the stats here, and I'm pretty sure this is the game for first place in the division. Third place is 3-2, so they're not going to be able to catch up. And with the head-to-head victory, I'm not sure what the exact tiebreaker rules are in Titan, but I think whoever wins today is guaranteed first place in Group A.
I definitely agree with that sentiment. Hopefully here, though, we get a banger match for me. That's what I'm excited for the most. I really like when really close, like skilled teams get to brawl it out, and since both teams are undefeated, right? It's not like some teams tend to like towards like the end of a season when they realize, oh, we can't really do anything to our seeding, they just kind of stop caring. But since both of these teams have so much riding on the success in this match, going forward into playoffs, I suspect we're going to see some very, very, very good play coming out of both squads. SYN going to be the first band away here. I mean, come on. SYN, pretty staple champ. The higher you go.
I don't think I've ever actually cast a SYN game, to be honest. I think it's either always gone through draft or always been banned away in the first phase. So unfortunately, that pattern is going to continue. But the next few bans have already come through. Kled banned by DropDeadGaming, and then the Tristana from SYN and Lavaris. So it looks like they just want to get rid of all the marksmen early on.
I mean, it is fearless, so you know, if you just decide to get rid of every single marksman, you force your 80 carries to play mages, we'll have some really banger games. Call back to that mage meta we had in the bot lane, but Shaco, Kled banned away here for DDG. Some interesting bans to be sure about that. Kled, though, I think Kled is in an interesting spot. Baus actually doesn't mind the champ, so has seen some success competitively. I don't want to knock it, you know? So maybe Kled on the horizon. I think Volibear, really good lock-in here, flexible between two roles. Obviously tends to try to stay in the jungle, but can be flexed in that top lane.
Yeah, I mean, Volibear is very strong, especially if it gets going, but it does need to get going. If you fall behind, you do kind of... I think it's pretty similar to the Nautilus treatment, where you have to go in, no matter what, and if you're behind, you're just going to go down. Maybe you can get something for your team anyway, but you're definitely going to be going down. But already 2 carries locked in for SYN. They're going to have the Syndra in the mid lane and the Corki in the bot lane, so pretty interesting to see both these carries picked up so early.
Yeah, pretty abnormal. Orianna going to be the answer into the Syndra, so already picking it up with a skill matchup in game 1. And really going to be reliant on your hands there to not die as the Syndra. Very immobile, but also same thing with Syndra. You hit a nice little shockwave, Syndra's most likely dead. Caitlyn going to be the answer into the Corki. kind of a skill matchup here. If Corki can actually get onto Caitlyn, can be a bit problematic, but Gwen will be the response. I will say SYN's draft strategy here is a little interesting. They haven't really given too much away in their comp just yet. Like, Gwen is picked. All of these are pretty neutral. Ideally, right, like Corki wants to play either like poke or dive. Gwen a bit more of a divey champ, but Syndra can kind of slot in wherever. So very neutral draft coming out of SYN so far. Ban's gonna be the Zillion and Bard for SYN, and Rel for DDG.
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of Zillion popping up on a lot of Challenger streams. I've been seeing it kind of all over the place, and especially that slow is so powerful. And I think specifically, like you were saying, with the Caitlyn versus Corki, if the Corki can get on top of Caitlyn, we'll be able to win that. But if the Corki is not able to get on top, the Caitlyn will be able to just cut it out and just play with that higher range. And Zillion is kind of good at letting her do that. So I think that's a really solid ban. And then Bard as well is so powerful right now. I think with the Alistar that might have been okay, at least in terms of the lane. But I think it makes sense to get rid of it, especially like anyone who does play Bard is always going to be an absolute monster on it. Not too much you can do. As we see Jace and Braum locked in as the final two for DropDeadGaming.
Interesting early Alistar pickup. Alistar is very good right now, so I'm not that upset about it. But when you do allow DDG to answer with something like Braum, it can be problematic. And R5ing something like the Wukong, so it will be the Gwen top matchup here into the Jace. I don't know. SYN's draft, like, maybe I'm a little too like meta pilled because I just don't really like their draft process here. I think if you're gonna pick something like a Wukong, why are you not saving a pick later in your draft, right? Like either like the mid lane matchup or even the support, right? Like support R5 can be so impactful here that feeling like R5ing something like the Wukong might be a little bit of a waste, but that doesn't matter too much if you can show up on it, and that's what Wukong can do here. Can show up big time, especially into something as immobile as this, like Orianna. Maybe looking into a lot of like early game pressure around, get the Syndra ahead early, snowball from there.
Now, I mean, both of these two teams, they seem to be pretty bad at starting fights. They both have very short range engage or very obvious engagements coming in. And with that being said, which of these two drafts do you favor going into game number one?
Oh man, hard question. I think the bot lane is a little hard. I think Alistar into Braum is pretty difficult because of A, how weak your level 1 is, B, how hard it is for Alistar to get on top of Caitlyn, because Caitlyn can kind of just completely outspace you the entire time. I think I'm going to give it to DDG, but with that being said, Volibear is a champion that needs to get going early as possible. If you cannot get going early, we have seen time and time again where it basically just looks like a support as a bear. So basically, if DDG can get rolling early, I think they have a fantastic comp here. If they cannot, Syndicate do have quite a bit of scaling here on their side, right? Assuming Corki's going to go the Triforce tier build, which is the most common thing right now. Have that scaling. Syndra, right? Gonna outscale the Orianna for sure. Like, Gwen should easily be able to outscale majority of the comp from DDG. That they do have the scaling advantage. I think they just need to worry about not giving the Volibear the chance in the game.
Yeah, I think this game is going to be a lot about just the poke coming out from both these two sides. I mean, Corki's going to be able to poke quite far. The Syndra kind of can. Scatter the Weak will help set everything else up. And then on the other side of it, they have Shock Blast coming in from the Jace. Orianna to some extent, again with the ball. And then again, Caitlyn to some extent. I don't think neither one really has too much true full poke. It's just going to be the Corki and the Jace. But it's actually crazy to me. The more I think about it, these two teams have very, very similar drafts in terms of how they play out. So I think that alone makes it basically just a skill matchup.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it instantly in the mid lane. Like, they saw Syndra already come out and decided to answer with Ori, so looking like both teams more than comfortable, willing to try to hand gap the other. I think also something that's interesting about DDG's comp is they drafted Volibear so early and then really didn't give him anything to like realistically go in with. It's just Volibear in there. Realistically, maybe Braum could jump to him and then help him out. But outside of that, not really much to go off of. So kind of
Get
evil up for here. Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
You get the ball.
You-
You're gonna sacrifice yourself. You're gonna make me look amazing with that 5-man shockwave, but you don't matter, Evil Lobster. Sorry.
Yeah. So interesting comps from both. I do think SYN at least has a bit more cohesion necessarily. Like the Wukong, the Gwyn, they pair well together. Alistar can play either ways. We are going to get loaded up in this game 1 of this best of 3.
Yeah, and I'm super excited for this, but let's see who will be able to take game number 1, DropDeadGaming or SYN win. And looking over at these two starts, is there anything that really comes to mind in terms of the possible first buys or the keystones?
Well, will be the green smite for the Wukong, which is pretty abnormal. Usually they're going to be the blue smite. I mean, blue smite has been so like normal for junglers for so long that saying anything else is a bit weird. Outside of that, first strike in this mid lane just means the Syndra is confident, and grasp on the Gwyn is the biggest standout to me, as gonna be playing into that Jace. Wonder how the Jace is gonna perform into the Gwyn. I believe Jace should have a pretty fun time for the majority of the game, but might actually struggle in the side lane if the Gwyn is able to stay unchecked.
Yeah, I actually am a little bit surprised about that grasp in the top lane as well, because, I mean, it's kind of a ranged melee matchup, and even on stuff like Ornn, you typically even go summon Airy when you're in a matchup like this. But still going to be going for the grasp, so I'm wondering if YSKM is going to be able to get a lot of value out of it this time around.
Yeah, YSKM, and already early game pressure in this bot lane. Kind of just a disadvantage of picking Alistar, especially if you get a pretty mediocre matchup as level 2 on the top side, YSKM.
Unless we're going to be trying to push in, and we'll get a decent amount of damage with that Shock Blast. I don't think the all-in potential is quite there yet, but should help a little bit just in terms of getting that HP. And we do have the Pro Comps draft score coming out, and it looks like overall, it agrees with what you said. The analysis was correct. Slight advantage over to SYN win. Now, do you think this is about as close as you'd have put it yourself?
Oh, for sure. If anything, I'd put it just a little bit closer. Because, yeah, just a big skill matchup here. Syndra taking the worst of that trade in that mid lane, already forced to back here. Again, it really just comes down to the hands from both of these squads. Who can get going early? Can the scaling, like this realistic scaling comp from SYN, hold on long enough? Because you're essentially handshaking this Caitlyn lane, which is not ideal most of the time. There's a little bit poke going to be denied there with the shield from the Braum, but can you hold on and not give away too much gold to this Caitlyn lane in the bot lane? Can your mid laner stay safe on the Syndra, stay away from getting picked off? This YSKM, really nice dash and the W usage there. Was quite a lot of poke. Running low on mana though.
Yeah, I mean, the spacing has been really good, but needs to pop those abilities just to be able to farm in. Has TP, so if YSKM can kind of keep playing with this slight little bit of range, isn't really behind in CS at all. In fact, might be a little bit ahead in terms of potential with a pretty large wave about to crash. So, I mean, so far it's been really close, kind of across every single lane. Brandyfan is the only one that's kind of pretty farther out ahead, and actually, a couple of those waves crashed, and Cookie just has not been able to get too much of those. But that is kind of expected. But now here comes the safety. Mellow Ray coming in from behind, looking towards Brandyfan, and now they're going right on top of this gate, and the flash has already been popped, and we'll be able to back out with the 90 caliber net. But they keep going. They're looking towards Falls, but the damage just is not there. But that's still going to be pressure relieved, so SYN will at least be able to farm a little bit as Decker also gets taken down quite low, and no one in this mid lane has TP either.
Yeah, this the worrying thing for me in this matchup is Decker is really, really getting punished. Good, honestly, really well played from DDG's bot lane there on that bot side to not give anything up at all besides the Caitlyn flash, not even barriers. Decker, Wave shoving in, so Wave's not even in a realistically good spot here in the mid lane either, so Decker forced it back again very early. We saw on that last back that was only the refillable. Gonna pick up the Dark Seal and the Amp Tome now. Not gonna be necessarily happy with that buy, but at least that you can salvage something up, as we'll miss quite basically almost all of this wave.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of XP missing as well. So Neversaw should get a lot closer to that level 6 before Decker will be able to. But yeah, we're just starting to see little CS differences starting to pop up all across the side of DDG. Nothing super large yet. Lesser, again, slightly behind, but has the wave positioning near that turret. So should be able to catch back up. And we haven't really talked about this, but a 15 CS difference in the jungle. Evil Lobster's just been kind of power clearing and now looking to gank the top side, but level 6 is there for YSKM, going with that Needles, trying to get more, but right now the 2v1 not able to get it perfectly. But now Mellow Array is going to be here as well, and Lesser and Evil Lobster, they're both low, and First Blood going to go over to Lesser, will get traded back to Mellow Array, and now it's just going to be the two junglers trying to fight it out, and one more auto. Evil Lobster going to be able to get that second kill, and again, a slight victory going the way of DDG.
Yeah, we were just mentioning about the CS differences there, and it really pays off for Evil Lobster. As Volibear able to bully this Wukong, headbutt engage in the bot side. Gonna be just some chip damage here. As actually,
gonna get used though, and they're looking to continue on to Branny Fan, but I think with this Braum, it's just so hard to engage onto this Caitlyn.
It certainly is. Yeah, in that top side engagement, right? Like a big pivotal thing happened. Jace leveled up to level 6, which gave him the extra HP to chase down the Gwen kill. Also, Gwen missing part of the ultimate there onto the Jace as well. Just some slight small mistakes, and still we pan it over in the mid lane, and Decker once again low. Every time we come into this mid lane matchup, Decker is completely incapable of staying healthy. Neversaw making a fantastic showcase of their laning capabilities here on the Orianna into the Syndra. Very comfortable with this matchup, it seems, and more than happy. Something to mention is Corki is building the Bloodthirster Essence Reaver build, so that will be a little switch up. Personally, for me, without my like Corki bias, I don't really like it as first Drake. Going to be secured here for DDG will be that Infernal Drake. They're going to be more than happy with that. Want to keep their snowball going. A good way to get that one started is with that potential Drake stacking. As yeah, I think Corki as a whole, not really a great champion right now, especially with the Triforce tier build. It just doesn't seem to really be doing too much in the way of what you want out of something like your AD carry position. But when teams tend to pick up things like the Bloodthirster or try to play something with a different build on Corki, it does look a lot better. So happy to see some experimentation. Decker.
Oh yeah, Decker gonna be getting a run down right now. Already used Scatter the Weekend is forced to flash away. And one thing I do want to point out, sorry to interrupt what your previous point was, but you've talked a few times about how Decker's always low, always forced to back out. As actually another fight could be breaking up in the top side as I interrupt myself here. But again, just going to be able to get out with Wukong's Trickster. But the flash is coming forward. Split Earth as well. Looking for Mellow. And the Stormbringer over top. They will get the feats. And now they're looking towards YSKM. And now the Alistair is here. Headbutt Pulverized. Will be able to trade one. We'll get the shutdown on Evil Lobster. But that's still a 2-for-1 and the feats going the way of DDG.
They're happy with that one. Every small advantage is just DDG winning the battle inch by inch, and sometimes that's how you have to do it here. As once again, also very pivotally there in the top side, Lesser on the Jace hits that Empower Shock Blast on Mellow, doesn't clone it fast enough as Chill with kills. You don't have flash here.
Yeah, gonna get jumped, and that's gonna be the Shockwave actually burned, but still should be able to back away, especially with YSKM with the wave already pushing in. Actually looking to trade a little bit. But Gwen is immune, so not going to get punished too much. But the wave's in a very greasy spot, and I don't know if YSKM's going to be able to safely approach that.
Yeah, not going to be able to. So many members here for the grub fight for DDG. As speaking of so many members, Fail's going to show up in the mid lane there, help out his mid laner. But the biggest part here for TDG, staring down a nice 2k gold lead for themselves, is can they maintain this and grow this lead larger? Locking down the grubs and the first Drake will certainly help you do that. But will it be enough for the scaling of SYN? So far, Cinder down quite a lot of CS. And Cookie.
Looking towards Cookie, actually. Have a couple of stacks, but Cookie now going to be able to trade back, and the trample going to land onto Brandy Fan. Mellow Ray is in the area as well. Can they follow it up? And it doesn't seem like they have enough control to get this to happen. Another headbutt pulverized, but the play's already done. But even so, this is still a decent trade for them, and maybe SYN will finally be able to get a little bit of pressure and prio in the bot lane.
Now, the Vamp Scepter able to be utilized here for Cookie, so trades won't stick as hard. They are on a ward. It looks like there's not going to be dive opportunity here. Wave is way too small, so now they're going to have the back canceled. As right in the top lane.
Starting to get quite low. YSKM going to get hit by the shock blast. Just needs one more auto. The ghost is going to get popped by YSKM, and Lesser did burn flash during that exchange, probably before we got into that. But yeah, it's pretty close in the top side, but Lesser's the one that's going to be able to get the blade out of this as another shock blast. Almost takes down YSKM, and the top lane gap is starting to grow a little bit more. That's each plate gives a pretty significant amount of gold.
Here for SYN, you need to start thinking about potential options into how you can kind of scrounge up some gold for yourself. CS leads growing across the board here for literally every single individual on DDG. Top lane being the most minor, but take a look at that jungle CS difference, 30. Also in the mid lane, looking at 33. The bot side, only 12, right? Will also get evened up potentially if Caitlyn misses maybe one or two of these melees, but regardless, DDG holding a strong CS lead on top of just about basically every advantage they could possibly get as they engage on the top side.
Towards YSKM, and with the stun, with the split earth, this should just be a pretty clear kill, unless they're 2-1 and 3 now. Is just, yeah, like you said, things are starting to kind of fall apart slowly but surely for SYN.
Yep, sometimes you gotta win wars by winning battles, and every single time they can find a play like that, or even just denying CS or getting plates, they're winning a very small but crucial battle. And we talked a lot about this comp needing to snowball in the draft, Toki, and they are snowballing quite well at the moment. 3k gold lead is growing. Nice little 3k gold lead at 13 minutes, but engage on fails.
And Scatter the Weak is there as well. And these objective fights, I think this is where they could try to find it. They do have 5 members. Lesser is in the top side, does not have teleport. So if they're able to get a big team fight started, this could be their comeback, and they're looking for the headbutt pulverize, only find its way onto Fails, and Fails is going to go down, but you probably want more than just that one kill. They're going to be looking for this dragon. They should get that as well, but Lesser will get the first turret in the top lane, and that will be the feats overall going towards DDG, and I'm pretty sure DDG is still happy with that trade.
I mean, support for first tower. I mean, you do lose the Drake stacking, which does sting a little bit, but first tower, such sheer amount of gold given away towards them, like another about 1k gold added to their lead now, even with the kill on the Braum. DDG, they're doing what it takes to keep their lead and maintain their growth of that lead here as they keep just expanding on very good plays, very calculated. It's a little slow, but sometimes slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, this is definitely not what I've been used to. Casting mostly from that Platinum division as Mellow Ray gonna get knocked back here. but this is a very slow, methodical, and controlled game. And as much as there isn't that much action to it, it is showing how much these two teams are trying to play properly. They're not giving more than they need to. I mean, and even from the side of SYN, they are losing right now, but whenever the play goes south for them, they only give the little bit that they need to give in order to be able to safely get away from it. And I think if they're able to find maybe another 1 or 2 plays for themselves, they could maybe try and come back. And like you mentioned earlier, the scaling is on their side as Needlework is going to be coming out. TKSM looking for Lesser. Not going to be able to hit that second volley, though. And with that, Lesser's just going to be able to back away. And we'll continue trying to pressure on a Mellow Array, just being an absolute nuisance on this Jace in the top lane.
Yeah, absolute menace is a understatement here. The CS difference in the jungle continuing to grow. Decker nice sidestep on that Q from the Braum. But Mellow down almost, maybe even close to 2 levels at this point. Just barely picked up level 9 off of the top wave dying there. As Herald gonna be completely uncontested here from Syndicate. No way can they walk in here. As Herald picked up for DDG. Happy to pick that one up. As curious to see where they use it. Probably going to be on this mid tower soon. The one saving grace, I think, for Syndicate is despite Decker struggling a lot in the mid lane matchup, managing to not die is probably the best asset here. Corki also 1-0. Will help them.
They're now turning on it fails and will be able to get the Scatter of the Week onto 2, but the Shockwave lands on 3. Cyclone now has to be used defensively. Stormbringer coming out from Evil Lobster, and that's going to be 1. Mellow is going to be the first to fall. Second, going to be following Chill with kills, and Decker at the exact same time. Cookie, the final one as Lesser with that flash TP. It's a 4-0, and DDG, they're just going to be continuing to grow their lead.
As I predicted, will be the Herald on the mid play, but didn't predict a play happening in the mid like that anytime soon. And DDG break open the game with this Herald and that mid team fight. I mean,
Nice
yeah,
corner.
gonna get this drift. Gonna get this drift.
Very nice corner. We've seen that go south so many times.
Yeah. Really nice drift there, but also forcing out the TP on the mid turret is something to note. But keep your eyes realistically here on the ball of Neversaw was what basically completely sets this up. Fails also doesn't take enough damage from the unleashed power here. Decker just not able to do enough damage, but fantastic shockwave coming out of Neversaw. And just because of how much of a lead Evil Lobster was able to generate on this Volibear comparatively to the Wukong, there's just no contest here. Even with Cookie coming in late, basically just seals his own demise there, as SYN lose that one quite handily, and DDG very much so in control of this match, 7k up.
Yeah, and it's been a pretty slow 7k lead. I think that was the first big trade, big fight that we've seen, and they got a lot of value for it. They got the tier 1 in mid, they got the 4 for nothing. But it's still kind of funny to me, Branny fan. Usually we talk about the top lane kind of being on an island, but this Caitlyn has 0 KP so far. Just has not been needed in these trades. Just slowly but surely took down that tier 1 in the bot lane. Already has a Yuntal very close to that Infinity Edge. And for an 80 carry, especially when you know you're going to be strong at 2 to 3 items, this has kind of been the dream for Branny fan. As now TKSM getting jumped upon the Shockwave, not going to be able to land. Gwen is immune, but Headbutt Pulverize is going to get used by Chill with kills. Just trying to buy some space. Now Mellow looking in the middle with Cyclone and will be able to find fails, but again with the Unbreakable, it's just impossible to get through. That was a really good attempt from SYN, but the damage just isn't there yet for them.
Just barely not having enough damage. Drake, number 3 of the match, will be going to DDG. Gonna be number 2 for them. And the Hextech Soul, but TP looks like SYN aren't done fighting yet.
I think this is a good call. They know that everyone is low. YKSM looking to jump in, going straight towards Evil Lobster.
Oh!
They are going to be able to steal away the dragon, but what about the fight? YKSM still fighting with Evil Lobster. Cookie trying to help, but it doesn't matter. That's going to be a 3-0 double kill going over to Evil Lobster. As now it's just going to be Chill with kills and Decker left alive, and Decker kind of in a bad spot. I could maybe try to outplay this, but oh, the command dissonance, and with the 1 final shock blast. It's another 4-0 for DDG. But at the very least, SYN, they do get the dragon.
They do get the dragon. Comes at the cost of 4 though, and probably this bot T2 as well. So I mean, I think SYN just unfortunately just don't have enough gold. Kind of just getting gold cap now. They have found that mid play was honestly really solid look. Just not enough gold to do enough damage just yet in the game. But even still, gold lead grows here for DDG. Just under 11k at this point. So, SYN, they're knocking at your gates. You gotta find an answer soon. And where that answer is gonna be, I'm not sure just yet. Essence Reaver not even picked up on Corki. The Leandries not gonna be picked up by Decker anytime soon either. So they
has just been picked up.
Yeah.
The game is completely turned around. SYN are gonna win this next fight. Well, as I say that, Joe with Kills is forced to flash over the wall as the Otacon is about to get started. Evil Lobster now trying to trade with YKSM. And with that Sky Splitter, with that shield, just so tanky. And now the Glacial Fisher over top. Joe with Kills gets taken out so low at the start before that ultimate can come through. But so far, no one's gone down. And actually, Cookie's going to be the first one to get a kill this fight. But Joe with Kills is going to follow. Same with the Mellow. It's still going to be a 3-for-1. As now Neversaw tanks a turret shot. But Decker with the damage just is not there yet. And oh, one more flash. And Branny going to be able to get that kill. And Ace in the hole over top. Not enough damage, but it's a 4-for-1. Otacon going to go down as well. And DDG, they're continuing to grow this lead.
They've had control of the entire game here, Toki. As, yeah, overall, I don't see what exactly they can do here on the side of SYN when they're facing down this big of a gold lead from DDG. DDG just completely gold gapping there. Book picked up with 19 stacks for the Orianna. Little Medjai's action going on in the mid lane. And speaking of Orianna, Neversaw played the lane phase so well, pushing Decker off of the wave multiple times in the lane phase. Has had a lot of impact so far with shockwaves and just overall play, to play. That for me, I think SYN need to find a way to shut down Neversaw if they're gonna try and come back.
Yeah.
Right now, kind of out of reach though.
And as we're seeing there, apparently CFO has managed to take a game off T1. So T1 to the lower bracket incoming. But looking over at this game, I mean, one thing I do want to talk about from the side of SYN is that I think you can agree with me on this too. A lot of their looks in the last few fights have been good. It's just that they're so far behind from the laning phase that it doesn't matter, that they're just getting completely gold gap. And maybe they'll be able to find another play, maybe in the next game, if they're able to get lanes that work slightly better for them. If they don't fall as far behind, they can definitely look a lot more competitive in the series.
Oh, for sure. I definitely agree with that. And even if this gold lead was maybe like 7k at this point, I think they could potentially pull out a couple more kills in these fights and make them a bit closer. But they are just so ungodly behind right now that it's so hard to find even a kill onto fails. We've seen like multiple unleashed powers, multiple attempts on trying to kill fails, and it's just not enough damage. Cookie in that last fight though did quite a bit of damage. Tier 2 gonna go down here. Nice shockwave.
Shockwave is gonna land on a Cookie, and now Cyclone trying to buy some space. Will be able to Valkyrie away, but Cookie still cannot deal damage. So now YKSM in the front, trying to deal as much DPS as possible. Fails starting to get low, but in the back line, Lester coming in, gets 2, and now they're just gonna clean up right after. Chill with Kills, gonna get taken down by the Ace in the whole Decker, the final survivor, but not for long, as it's an Ace going the way of DropDeadGaming.
Ace and potentially the game here. They have Caitlyn headshots. Timer's looking a little low, and their health bar is not looking that great on certain members, but let's see. They might potentially try a TP comes in from Neversaw. Looks like they are going to try here at the very least, Toki.
Yeah, I mean, this could be pretty close. I mean, they've started it, but yeah, they changed their mind. They're going to back away. Dragon is available right now. So they're just going to come back, make sure that this dragon stacking from SYN is gonna get prevented because, let's face it, I don't think DropDeadGaming, I don't think they're looking for the soul themselves at this point.
Definitely not. Definitely want to end within this next 5 minutes. Soul Point probably not even going to be in the cards with how they're playing this match. More than willing to get in the game early there. They definitely attempted. Just wasn't in the cards. Respawn timer's a little too short, but still, DDG showcasing why they're undefeated in this match, as it's just been phenomenal play after phenomenal play. And even though the early game was a little slow until their big break open play in that mid lane, that's how you get wins in these games sometimes. It's very small, but eventually it starts to add up. And that's what basically broke them into the game and pushed them forward to have such a standout play off of the back of a fantastic shockwave.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely added up to the over 15k gold lead over to DDG. And my question is, do you bother going for the Baron? Or, I mean, I guess it's free, so may as well take it. But with that, like, do you think Syndicate has any chance at all beyond DDG just kind of disconnecting at an opportune time?
I mean, I don't think so. Like, I could try to cope, but realistically, Syndra's still on 2 items, not even close to a third. Corki working towards that IE is going to be so far away from it. And still, right, I've been mentioning it, they're struggling to even kill fails in these team fights. So, I don't see a world where they can kill anyone actually important. Sorry, Braum, you know, you are important in my heart, okay?
Yeah,
I will point that. I will point that out. You are important in my heart, and you are important to your team. But in reality, right, like, if they're struggling to kill the support, I don't really know if they're going to be able to find a kill onto anyone who actually does the damage, but they might look for it in the mid lane.
Needlework coming out onto Branding Fan. Flash has already been burned, but look at that headshot, taking out YK7 down to half HP, and then Mello just trying to buy some space in the backline, but it's actually already a 3-4-0. Make that 4, and it's just a clean victory coming out from DropDeadGaming. They're not even going to go for the end. They want to get this final kill, and with Ace in the hole, Mello's going to go down, and DropDeadGaming, they're going to win game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just a well-deserved game 1. So cleanly played from DDG. I mean, I think the scariest moment for DDG was both that, like, first top team fight and also the second mid lane team fight. A little messy, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. Even if they drop those, I don't even know if Syndicate's coming back. Especially that top lane team fight. I don't know if that would have mattered. DropDeadGaming, realistically, just put on an absolute brilliant masterclass of just how to play slow League of Legends until you find that opportunity to really break open the game. And showcasing, realistically, just how small wins can start to add up and become a thorn in the side for your opponents.
Yeah, and that was just the wallet gap. You know, the rich win again here. And I mean, not to take anything away from DropDeadGaming. I mean, like you said, they had to play very calculated, very smart in order to get that advantage to begin with. And to SYN's credit, they did have a lot of pretty decent looks, and they got a couple of solid picks. Cookie, especially, DPS pretty well over top of everything, but they were just so far behind. DropDeadGaming just absolutely deserved this victory, but maybe the rest of the series can be pretty competitive.
I'm hoping so. I also think, for me, another big setback is kind of, again, the draft sequence from SYN was a little weird. Definitely kind of goes against the grain of what's currently accepted, especially towards higher elo drafting. Drafting both of your carries instantly is pretty rough on red side, unless it's super high prio. Corki's obviously not that high prio, and Syndra's definitely not that high prio of a mid right now. Still very good, don't get me wrong. I think Syndra's a great champ, but is she really worth picking up on R1? Especially with how Decker really struggled in the lane phase against Neversaw. Back to the drawing board for SYN, though. And I guess for us, back to the drawing board as we wait for game 2. We'll catch you in a sec.
Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, coming down like precipitation. I ain't never met a limitation. Hater plotting my elimination. Gotta go to Google for the information. I'm a superstar, so I gotta shine. Top dollar be the bottom line. Bottom feeding niggas out of line. Turn your heart rate to a dotted line. Yeah, my zodiac probably dollar sign. Got the energy to win it, my nigga, I'm feeling great. Got a date with destiny, focusing on my fate. I don't give a fuck what you rapping, you been a fake. I'm everything that they ain't, it can't be, it won't be. Wanna see me fall, I can't go, I won't leave. Coming from the block with plain clothes and police. Straight up to the top with bankrolls and rollies. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, 12 can't really stop shit, so I'm still pushing like a mosh pit. Ice dripping, think I'm hot shit. In a yellow bucket with the mop stick. I've been jugging jams like wholesale. Everything must go sell. Hitting bitches with the old well. Need 100 million on the low scale. On my worst night, I'm the best nigga. Wouldn't mess with you, couldn't cap to him. Homie spotted me like 700, brought 1100 right back to him. If I can't do it, then it ain't real. I just make dollars, I don't make deals. I've been going hard in the paint, still blowing cush clouds till I can't feel like. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5.
Alright, and we are back getting set up for game number 2 here between DropDeadGaming and SYN. Now, game number 1 was pretty one-sided, but honestly, do you think that SYN can kind of bring it back for game number 2?
I mean, I sure hope so, right? We were talking about the major implications that was coming from this matchup. Since we're so close to playoffs, this basically will guarantee who is first seed, unless something, I guess, really, really tragically happens for like either team that like super loses next week or something. But regardless,
I think they still guaranteed first.
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
mathematically speaking, I think whoever wins this is guaranteed first.
Yeah, well, there you have it. Like, so big implications in this game. SYN definitely need to bounce back. I think what's really made this struggle is they've really just lacked a winning lane. I mean, Decker definitely had the cards to do so, but didn't really necessarily play it that well. So, which, I mean, those things can happen, right? Definitely going to be for I can forgive that. Sometimes you just don't play a lane well. Happens all the time to just about any player. But time for SYN to bounce back on blue side. Gonna be the Pantheon ban away here. So already a different look in the bans.
Yeah, and I mean, Pantheon, we've been seeing a lot of it in MSI. I've been seeing it a lot of my solo queues. Just a very, very good champion right now. And doesn't fall off as bad as it used to. But the early game is still incredibly powerful. It's kind of a pseudo assassin that can tank for a little while. I'm not even sure how to describe accurately what Pantheon does, but he's a good champion. I think that's what I can say for sure.
Yeah, with the appearance in the jungle for Pantheon, I think it's done a lot of good for Pantheon as a whole. You just mentioned doesn't really necessarily get outscaled as hard as he used to. And also just access to Grand Starfall, especially as a jungler. He's basically kind of replaced Nocturne for me. Like, he's kind of just like, he can gank earlier than Nocturne can majority of the times. He's definitely much safer than Nocturne thanks to his Aegis Assault. And Grand Starfall, obviously, the highlight for the champ is Trundle will be the first pick in for Syndicate.
pretty solid pick. Most likely going to be in the jungle. I think very rarely we do see them top it, but I don't think you blind pick jungle top unless they want to flex it. Maybe if DDG ends up picking a tank, but Tristana was left open this time around, so they are just going to immediately grab that. I believe that it is Evil Lobster's most played champion, and the Shaco also was banned in phase 1, and I guess now we know why. It is something that they play on the side of DDG.
It is going to be a Shaco lock-in here for DDG, as it's going to be the Jinx response. The biggest thing about Trundle Jungle, to get talking about him once again, is he shuts down quite a lot of things that are good, right? Things like the Zinzao, things like the Vi, he outduels. He's fantastic into preventing tanks from getting picked, something like the Ornn. He's been a counter into Ornn, he's been a counter into Sebuani. I'm obviously going to be that Shaco jungle here, as you know, I did play this matchup myself not that long ago, and Trundle doesn't seem to mind Shaco at all. You just beat him to death with your massive like ice club. So, but it will be Renata coming out for DDG to pair with that Tristana. Bit of an interesting look here from DDG, as typically Tristana going in with one of those engaged supports. I do like the Renata into the Rel though.
Yeah, Renata into Rel is really good, but Jinx is going to be pretty strong here as well, especially if she's able to get a reset. It's going to be a little bit harder into the Renata, but it is something that if they're able to get it, it'll help them a ton. But I mean, just even looking at that, Renata's kind of a perfect pick there. Completely breaks everything that SYN wants to do. The Jinx and the Trundle, they are both very strong auto attackers, so if they're hit with that, they're just going to be destroying their team. And then you want the reset as the Jinx, but Renata can prevent that. So it just kind of really breaks their entire strategy. Because now we see the mid laners locked in, the Aurora coming in for Decker, then the Ahri for Neversoft. And what do you think about that matchup?
Well, I think Ahri takes... The biggest thing for Aurora is essentially your do or die by hitting your spells. Ahri pretty good at avoiding getting hit by the spells. So if the H-Rock's locked in here into a response of Syndicate, will be that gen top. But Aurora really comes down to being able to hit your skills. Ahri a bit more slippery than some of the other mages you'd see in the mid lane. That doesn't mean Aurora can't win the matchup. I just think it's significantly more difficult. So with the Aurora buffs coming in, I believe it was last patch, not this patch, Champ is looking fantastic. She's been making her showcase at MSI so far, showcasing what she can do. Just basically popping carries, like that's just her job. You just use your ultimate in between worlds and you just smack them up. They have like almost no response. I've seen some disgusting damage come out of Auroras.
Yeah, I mean, popping carries, I'm sweating. You know, that's what the song's always been about. That's what it's always going to be about. So now with these two drafts, who do you favor going into the second game? Just the drafts, nameplates off.
Nameplates off. I mean, Summit could have a much all-around comp. I think some play like Shaco, Aatrox, Ahri is interesting. But, you know, the biggest thing about like picking Shaco is it can be very hit or miss. Especially competitively. Is not really a competitive jungler. But Evil Lobster did get such a big lead last time, and obviously it's got banned away from him last game, that he's more than willing to just straight up insta-lock it here. That perhaps Evil Lobster are going to showcase exactly, maybe Shaco does have a mainstay in competitive play, at least here in Titan. But I think DDG really kind of lacks kind of some of that space creation. They have the Aatrox and they have the Ahri, but outside of that, they don't really have a really good person to kind of stand in front of the Tristana or the Renata. That, I mean, maybe it's Shaco Clone. Maybe Shaco Clone is the tank, and you just pretend to create space with the clone, and that's the idea. But for me, it's for sure Syndicate here. I think Syndicate just have an infinitely better comp.
Yeah, and I think I agree. And I'm also looking over at Evil Lobster's OTGG, and it seems like they are an AP Shaco enjoyer. So I was even going to think, because if it was the auto attack build, I think there's a world where they would just one-hit Decker or Cookie, and that would make the fights work. But on AP, especially competitive, I think it is so much harder to pull off. They have so much better vision control, especially at this Master Plus tier. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be a difficult game for DDG, at least with the draft.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think the Renata is interesting, right? It does prevent like Jinx resets, prevents the Rel from realistically getting in. But even with that, right, like, and also necessarily, like, let's say Evil Lobster does just decide he's going to play AD Shaco this game, you still have Stand United to play around, which it also makes like an assassin's job so difficult. As we are loading up onto the Rift, and I'll let you take this one away.
Yeah, we're going to have to see if they are going to be able to come back here in game number 2 on the side of SYN, or whether DDG are going to be able to win this 2-0 and secure themselves that first place in the Group A for Titan Immortal League. But right now, both sides just kind of grouping as 5. They're both right next to each other. But there is that Shaco trap. Now, I think what this might be, actually, is SYN wants to break the traps to slow down. They're aware that this might be here, and it's going to start off. The Charm going to be taken out first. Crash down from Chill with kills. And now Lesser taking so much damage. Will flash over the wall, and the flash not going to be able to make its way over now. Granny Fan going to be using that flash as well. Same with Fails. Summoners getting burned left and right, but in the end, no one's going to go down.
No one goes down there for DDG, but a lot of Summoner spells used. No Tristana flash, no Renata flash, no Aatrox flash. The biggest thing for SYN, though, is they do dedicate just the Trundle flash, but they don't really slow down the Shaco at all. You are going to see a Shaco special here, as it is going to be taken away, and he's going to actually come over here and try and counter jungle, as he does get level 2 off of his own chickens there. So yeah, this is completely unanswered from Mello. He's going to run over here. Shaco doesn't have Q.
Yeah, Smite going to get burned from Evil Lobster, though, already throwing down those traps. And those, it will give by a little bit of space, but again, Evil Lobster's on the wrong side of the map, and Trundle is fairly fast. And there's no flash on Evil Lobster either, but with the Blast Cone, might be able to just get away and just being the nuisance that we know Shaco can definitely be. But Mellow Ray not going to continue chasing onto the Shaco, just going to let them walk away. But that is still a stolen camp in favor of Evil Lobster.
Yeah, Evil Lobster invaded last game and invades this game, and it pays off thanks to some Shaco trickery. Doesn't go down there, so finds himself one camp up, as Mello unable to find exactly where Shaco ran off to. Still, I would say it's quite positive here for SYN. Still burning all of those flashes. It does give a lot of gank opportunity. Handshake going to be used up in the bot lane. But still quite a lot of summoners used in that level 1. Means that potentially Trundle can find a gank far earlier than normal. Gotta keep our eyes out for where he's pathing to. But still, no level 4 going to be available here for the Trundle unless he finds an invade for himself.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the difficult part, because right now both of them are just kind of full clearing. Now, in terms of scaling, I do think that Trundle is still going to be stronger than Evil Lobster at all points in the game. It is a Dark Harvest, Shaco, though, so technically, in theory, it is an infinitely scaling pick, but oh, massive trade in favor of Decker. And actually, I want to talk a little bit about the CS right now. Actually, never mind. Evil Lobster going to be ganking immediately, but was spotted out, so that Deceive not going to be able to find the angle. But Decker was kind of losing pretty hard in the mid lane in that previous game, and now is a full wave ahead of Neversaw. So right now, it looks like SYN overall has been able to kind of close out these leads that DDG managed to get in the lanes prior.
Yeah, and actually, because of this priority generated from Decker, might be able to find themselves a red buff. Chill with kills is actually also here. So, looks like Shaco's going to be denied off of this. Going to be a smite fight, though.
Yeah,
he does pick it up.
Go in favor of Hello Ray. I believe that they're the ones that got it, but still level 3 on that Toronto, level 4 for the Shaco without chill with kills. Could be in a pretty bad spot. Crash I'm gonna get used with a handshake. Will find the rel, and again with the flash, able to go over the wall. And we were talking about the flashes being burnt on DDG as a place where they can play aggressively on SYN, but that also means they can't follow on that play either.
Yeah, one thing I do want to point out as well is the red buff did go to Evil Lobster. He actually leveled up to level 4 there, so that a lot of time invested to try and get that red buff, but DDG swing back, pick up the red buff, so still maintain Shaco's lead and camps there. Is YSKM getting a little low here on the top side, but is playing that Shen, so should be quite alright. As still, DDG won this game. Started off essentially just like that. Obviously, CS leads were happening straight up across the board for their comp. So this time around, with the Yari being down in CS, not as accessible there, but it did start with Evil Lobster getting that lead. YSKM.
All those Darkened Blades are landing, but just the damage not there. And in fact, YKSM gonna go in, and Lesser is gonna flash away now underneath the turret, and went a little bit too far in. That's first blood going the way of Lesser, but that was a very, very close first blood.
Very close. Doran shield buys him enough HP there to survive. YSKM just goes in a little too deep. And when, you know, we're in a best of 3 scenario, you already lost the first game. Is a coin flip kill like that really worth it for YSKM, right? Just take, in my opinion, just take the advantage you get from pushing Aatrox off the wave. Goes a little too far though. Aatrox finds his first kill and also getting that CS advantage right at the moment. I would hope it does even out for him as Decker walking into.
Going to be walking in. Evil Lobster is in the area, but the Jack in the Box is going to get eaten by Hello Bell. Fail is forced to flash away. Chill with kills would have landed that with a crash down. And it does look like they were fighting for the dragon, but it also doesn't look like either side really wants the dragon. So both sides just going to walk away.
Yeah, a whole lot of nothing happening. Kind of reminiscent of last game here. Does favor SYN. Does favor SYN when they're doing things slow though. You do have that Jinx. Let the Jinx scale up. As you know, you are playing into AP Shaco as well. You did talk about that in draft. They did say if they did choose to go that AD Shaco, which was an option, but not really the preference for Evil Lobster. That might be able to one-shot somebody, but won't have that available. But Drake started up again, and we're gonna get this ring around the rosy.
Yeah, but it looks like SYN, they're the ones that are gonna have that inside track, but Decker could be the target instead, trying to get across, but flashes over the wall. So won't be able to go to the other side of it. So Brandy Fan gonna be able to get that kill for themselves. And now it's 4v3. Where's the next one gonna go? It's gonna get stolen too. And now the trap, they walked around it at first, but they forgot about it on their way away. Handshake gonna land on a Cookie. Chill with kills gonna get autoed down by Brandy Fan. And yeah, it's exactly like last game. It's a 4-0 overall in favor of DropDeadGaming.
What a complete tragedy for SYN. They lose the Drake. They lose Decker. Decker just flashing over the Between Worlds wall there to not bounce over. And on top of that, 4 members down, including Decker, as mentioned. And DDG find themselves up 3k gold, and essentially another breakout play here, just like we saw last game. Game was slow, and as soon as they found a breakout play, it was all gas, no brakes for DDG. They definitely don't look like they're going to slow down anytime soon here. Aatrox increasing that lead to 20 CS right now in that top side. Ari catching back up as well. Bot lane is even for the Tristana, if not just a little bit ahead. But also going to be the Void Grubs taken away here as well. DDG giving me some flashbacks of game 1.
And it's also important to note that while that technically was a 4v4, Sand United was used during that. I'll be honest, I did not see it. I'm guessing it was used over on a Decker when Decker was just getting popped. But that's a massive shield that was being used as well. That could have been a 5v4, and at the very least, still got to give it a little bit of a shout out. SYN's going to be able to take one of these Void Grubs, so it's not going to be all three going to DDG. But that's going to be a 4v4 with that extra shield, and they weren't behind in gold when that fight started. So that was just DDG being able to play so much better in the fight. He's on the handshake, gonna land on chill with kills, but no follow-up is there.
Yeah, and for me, right, again, it's just heartbreak for SYN. Back-to-back here. Pro Comps gonna agree with me once again. As Fails getting engaged on.
Is gonna go down. Brandy fan actually stuck in a pretty bad spot. We'll just be able to walk away. Cookie doesn't really fancy that trade into a 3-0 Tristana on DDG.
Definitely not. But yeah, DDG again snowballing their lead. Tristana 3-0 now. That's the biggest takeaway from that 4-0. Gonna make this like Jinx, who's been basically weak-sided. You know, he's been chilling in the bot lane. Not gonna be able to chill as easily, but they are setting up a gang on the top side.
Yeah, they're gonna get that Shadow Dash over, and actually, they're still holding off onto it. I think they want Lesser to overcommit, and now they're gonna come in. The World Ender has been popped, just needs a little bit more damage, but the movement speed is so high. Just one bite away, and Mellow Array just not gonna be able to find it. And that is gonna be flash burn, but YSKM also burned the flash, so that's actually an even trade.
Yeah, now sets up a potential dive. Shaco Clone can start taking up the tower.
Yeah, and the Deceive should be coming out soon. The Clone is gonna go down, not gonna be able to hit anyone with that nuke. So it doesn't look like they're going to go in with this dive. But Evil Lobster is going to try to steal away the Krugs as CFO takes down T1 again. Yeah. I was kidding when I said T1 going to go to lower bracket.
I mean, maybe you weren't, but speaking about going to lower bracket.
Oh, the Charm is going to land on the Decker, though. A lot of trading going back and forth. But neither one wants to do the all-in. Evil Lobster is in the area. But neither one's going to full commit onto this. As now maybe they're going to be fighting once again over these Raptors, but this might going to be coming out from Mellow. And this time won't get stolen, but the CS lead is still there for Evil Lobster. It's still going to be that 10 CS lead for the Shaco. But everywhere else is actually starting to get a lot closer. And despite the almost 4K gold lead and the 5-0 start, I think this has been a closer game so far.
Yeah, definitely map state-wise for sure closer, but even still, Evil Lobster increasing his lead very slowly but surely here. Willing to invade in the Trundle a little bit more now. As also in this top side, YSKM struggling into the Aatrox as Aatrox, you know, got a couple buffs, looking quite good himself at the moment as Sundered Sky already picked up for him. CS lead just about 30 at the moment. So fantastic play coming out of Lesser in this top side. Had a fantastic game on Jace as well. And kind of just really showcasing how great of a player Lesser is. But Drake number 2 is spawned up. Will SYN choose to fight this one or let this one go? Both AD carries do have Yun Taos available here, but they don't really have priority. And Trundle's top, so this is gone.
Yeah, it should just be a clean dragon for DDG. As they are looking towards Lesser, just a couple more autos, but look at the heal coming out. But I assume it will still go down. Decker's going to come in as well, and maybe we'll be able to pass the kill over. But no, it's going to be the bite coming out of Mellow, and that's going to be a shutdown going in favor of the Trundle. Now, if those two are able to hit onto the turret, I think they could get a lot of plates here.
Yeah. Can, in fact, get a lot of plates here thanks to Trundle being Trundle, and also, you know, Shen not necessarily that bad at taking towers himself, but gotta be mindful in the bot side here as well. Turret plating just falling off. They might be able to basically steal away first plate tower here, and they do. That is one of the strengths of Trundle in your draft is he's still great at bonking towers. He might be great at bonking tanks, but towers is a specialty. Never saw still wants a piece of this though. Not going to find anything. But yeah, fantastic play, I think, coming out of Syndicate, recognizing they can't fight the Drake, and finding the kill on the flashless Aatrox, and also finding first tower gives them a lifeline of gold back.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to give them at least that little bit of something. They're still down 3.3k, but the lead hasn't grown, and I think that's the most important part for them. As now Evil Lobster is spotted by Decker, or actually, never mind. Decker's just trying to roam down to the bot lane. But in the meanwhile, the top lane, they do lose their turret. It's going to be Neversaw taking that local gold for themselves. And the bot lane's starting to get super low as well. Brandy fans just been going absolutely nuts onto this turret with the explosive charge. And again, like you said, it's kind of like game number 1, where it's just slowly but surely DDG are just growing their lead, and there's really not much that SYN can do about it.
Yeah, and the biggest unfortunate play here is actually engaging the bot side.
Over towards Vales, will flash those choppers, and the handshake will buy some space as well. And they brought 4. That was the Stand United used as well. And only getting the summoners off of Fails, they definitely wanted more with that play.
Definitely needed more off of that play. They're going to lose the Herald, and top tower is going to be pressured here. As, yeah, Stand United used a bit prematurely there, as they don't find anything. Turret's going to go down to at least half health, thanks to their grubs. Herald also, as aforementioned, going to be taken here for DDG, and a small overcommitment from SYN is making them lose a whole lot.
Yeah, and I mean, that's really how it's been, but at the same time, we have to just... one game could just be one mistake, but because it's happened twice in a row now, I mean, it seems like DDG, they don't take those big fights unless they know they're going to win those big fights. And I think that's exactly what they did in game 1. That's exactly what they've done in game number 2. And if they're able to just continue playing this slow pace, just slowly but surely take SYN out of the game, it should just be another clean victory. Now, I know SYN's not just going to let them do that. They're definitely going to try and make plays. They managed to get a few smaller plays in that first game. And as much as it might be a little bit copium, I do think this game 2 is slightly closer. And there were definitely moments where if they had just a little bit more gold, they would have been able to win those fights in game 1.
Oh, I mean, for sure. And also, like, because of the comp differences presented thanks to DDD Draft, just because they have a gold lead right now, it's really going to come down to how useful Evil Lobster is going to be able to be when, you know, we actually do get the breakdown where games are just going into team fights. When Jinx is at her strongest, when Aurora is at her strongest, right? That's where Shaco is usually at his weakest, right? Like, when he's able to, like, really abuse his champion, you know, find, like, these solo plays where he's invading a lot, like, just doing objectives, kind of minding his own business, he's doing a Shaco job. But when you get into these later stages of the game, that becomes harder and harder. Is it a world where Syndicate can actually bounce back off of? And like you said, I think the game is far closer than what the numbers might tell us here, even if it's a little bit of copium. But still, right away. Nice leash for nice leash, says Mello, as Herald using the mid lane.
Yep, that is Smite. That's going to be down. There is no second charge, and Dragon is spotting in 25 seconds. Now, Herald has been popped in the mid lane, but hasn't been able to get the charge yet. They're going to be able to do a decent amount of damage to it. Unfortunately, won't have the DPS to fully take it down. But mid tier 1 is still going to be standing. Look at those Shaco traps. Even if you have the team coordination to get rid of them, this is not fun. I think that's what we can definitely say on the side of SYN, is the handshake almost finds the play, but again, DDG, they're just looking for these little pickoffs, and if they don't get them, they're fine to just play in their defensive little circle around Dragon.
Yeah, and this is essentially just like Caitlyn traps, right? You just lay out traps that can't really walk in. Teleport going to be used. Here comes the 5v5.
Yeah, they're definitely going to try, and now Chill with Kills trying to find that angle from behind. This could be the big one, but will get spotted out. So now they are aware of this flank. It is still 5v5. The Dragon has already been pulled down to half HP, 3.5k left on it. And Super Mega Death Rocket has been burned and trying to steal with his zap. Not going to be able to, but Evil Lobster is super low. In the meanwhile, they get the Shadow Dash as the Magna Storm lands onto 3, and the DPS, everyone is starting to get low, but it's only going to be SYN that's going to be going down. Decker going to be the next target. Neversaw will be able to get it with the Arcane Orb, as now Fails will get finished off, and now there's a little bit of life going on the other side of it. DDG and looking to fight continue, and they are 4 for 2, looking for Mellow, and with the extra move speed, we'll be able to get away, but that's still 4 for 2, and the Dragon going in favor of DDG.
It looks like SYN. A little split there. They tried so hard to kill that Aatrox. Aatrox living forever there. Spells complete disaster for Syndicate. As honestly, it looked like on the bottom side of the fight, like it looked so good for them. But on the top side, committing so much to try and kill Aatrox. Aatrox not caring about mortals. As the Darkin himself heals himself back up. And threatens this bot T2. But yeah, the biggest thing for me is it really looked like this DDG like team fight, right? They thrive so well on being split apart, right? With the Ahri, the Aatrox, the Tristana being able to jump around, the Shaco just to be able to cause chaos with all of the, all of the boxes placed down. I think Syndicate lost like sight of what they need to do to win the game, right? If they're just simply stacked up, they don't get disoriented, they play together, play to their strengths, right? As their comp is intended to do, they can win team fights. And that fight was very close, right? Evil Lobster very, very low there. Does eventually go down, but still Syndicate losing sight and putting themselves farther down. As you said, Soul Point picked up here for DDG.
Yeah, one thing I noticed in that team fight that I think definitely hurt SYN is, like you said, they went on Lesser. Lesser was their main target, but none of them have heal cut. So if they're not able to get that kill in the initial burst, I mean, we've all seen just those plays coming out of the Aatrox. Just one auto getting back to a quarter HP, one Q getting back to half HP. And I think that's exactly what happened on that top side of the fight. Lesser was just able to buy so much space as Mellow, looking for the angle, but unfortunately just isn't there. Now the Otacon has been started up, and it does look like SYN want to contest it. They have the Super Mega Death Rocket going out over top. It is going to get tanked, so no one's going to go down. They are aware it has begun, though, as now Magnastorm over top, looking towards Fails, but the cooldowns have already been used. And Brandyfan going to be godlike, taking down the support. And with that, that should just be the Otacon back for free in favor of DDG.
Yeah, Decker also using the Between Worlds on something, potentially the ward, but regardless, the biggest problem here for SYN is Chill with kills, or Chill will kills, excuse me. Just pulls the trigger way too early. Damage dealers all by the blue buff. They get zoned off by that run out ultimate.
Not going to be able to find the angle. And Neversaw could try to go back on this. And I don't know why, but I'm just watching this matchup. And for some reason, I'm just remembering Worlds in Season 3. I don't even remember which two teams were playing, but it was Shen versus Ahri in the side lane. And I remember the whole thing back then was Shen's going to lose early. Ahri is always going to be stronger, but eventually the Ahri will run out of mana. And at that point, then the Shen becomes super strong. But it's just crazy to think about, because like that's not something that would really happen in a modern season. Like running out of mana is kind of a thing of the past.
Yeah, running out of mana, especially with the amount of, like, obviously has the Malignance built up here. Actually opting for Roa Malignance on this Ahri, so
Decker could be getting dove upon, as Neversaw able to land everything so far, but huge straight backward, and Stand United is going to get popped as well. Super Mega Death Rocket over top, not going to find anyone. As now Fails could be the next target. Handshake's already there, and Fails forced to flash, but the Paler is going to be there. And YKSM looking towards the support, and they will be able to get a pick off right before Dragon spawns. This could be big for SYN. This could be their moment to try and get back into the game. In fact, they're looking for more. Neversaw was getting chased down, but in the meanwhile, tier 2 in the mid lane going down in favor of Brandyfan.
They definitely need to be a bit mindful here that they could just lose way too much for this dragon. Obviously, it is
That
slow, so you don't want to give
DP's
it
coming
away.
out for Neversaw as well. They're just gonna push straight down mid lane, looking for the inhibitor as well. And now there is gonna be a fight in the meanwhile. It is gonna be just the clone going down. Same with the dragon, and this would have been Soul in favor of DDG. And Evil Lobster is in the area, could look for the steal, but they're losing their entire base during this. You need to go back. You need to do something. Right now, Evil Lobster looking for it. Will not be able to get this steal, but that's 2 inhibs already getting taken down. 2-0, but Cookie will at least get the kill. But DDG has completely broken over SYN's base.
Okay, so potentially hear me out, but you know, a little color caster Cook here.
All right.
They did just kill Shaco, right? So he's down for 25 seconds. Baron's up in 10. And they did just take 2 inhibs, but realistically, it's free gold. It's on the wrong side of the map, realistically. So if they can be an angle, I don't see a world where they're going to find Baron, but at the very least, giving over, you know, two super minion waves is quite nice. Obviously, does hurt a little bit because their wave clear is not like the best at the moment, especially with Decker responding in that bot side against the Aatrox. But even still, it's going to be quite a lot of gold given away. Never saw it.
Arm is going to land. Chill will kills not going to be going in yet. But they are going to be able to get at least some vision around the Baron pit. But I mean, I'll be honest. I get where you're coming from, but it's still going to be
hard
so
reach.
rough.
It's such a hard reach. Such a hard reach, but, you know, I hope SYN would take us to game 3, but it is looking very difficult right now. CS lead also on the Trist, 50, so still some opportunities. SYN showing a little bit of life here, not giving up. Gold lead's only 6k comparatively to what it was last game, where the game completely just opened up. So still within reach. Jinx does have that IE working towards that Zeal item, but teleport coming in, they're starting the Baron.
Yeah, and this could be the final hurrah for SYN. I think they do need to try and contest it, as they're actually doing quite well for now. Lester's going to be taken down quite low, and they will get the ultimate over top. As now, look at that. They're able to knock everyone into the wall. So much damage, but no one's going down. Brandyfan going to get one, and now the Goomba Stomps are going to be coming through. Double kill. One more rocket jump. Not going to be able to find the triple, but they're going to be able to turn back towards Baron, as now Cookie still fighting. Everyone on the side of DDG is low, as now fails. A couple of autos going back and forth will be able to get the passive back, and they will take down Cookie, and it's a 3-0. Once again, such a close fight, but DDG still come out on top.
Once again, they hang on, and it looked really good for SYN, but still not enough damage. They're going to find themselves the Baron here. Going to take the resets. Definitely way too low to do anything off that. Spend their gold. Tristana sitting on 4 items. Realistically, right? Like, this fight kind of just comes down to the item advantage that this Tristana has. Just on a complete rampage on the Rift. Kind of reminding me of the, let's see, Mortal Reminder video where Mordekaiser's like kicking all the Yordles except this Tristana kicking all of SYN to get out of the way. As, yeah, really, really well played so far from Branny. Was a little quiet last game because he was definitely allowed to be. This game, though, wanting to pop off. Decker in trouble.
Yeah, Decker's just going to get explosive charge. I think Decker's just down, yeah. There's just no counterplay to that. Once you get the explosive charge on you, Brandyfan has more than enough damage to take you down.
Yeah, just, again, just complete disaster here for Syndicate. And it just comes back. Tristana got this lead from the very first dragon. As soon as the game, 3 kills to her name. Right there in that fight where they went 4-0. Still just begs the question, can SYN find a way to come back when their back is against the wall? And it's not looking like it right now, Toki. Tier 3, Baron, 3rd inhib, under threat.
Yeah, I mean, they're down 12k, and it looks like right now, DropDeadGaming, they're going to be looking to end the game and secure themselves the first spot in Group A of the Titan Immortal League. Now the clone's just going to get popped into the front, just trying to buy some space. as the minions are now starting to pour in. This is going to be the double super waves coming in shortly. As YK with the explosive charge. I mean, look at the damage. That's your tank.
Oh my god.
And Lester and Brandyfan just one-shotting them. And now one turret goes down, two turrets goes down. But the team fight in the meanwhile, Lester just healing back up. Explosive charge in the backline. And everyone just pops immediately. It is just Decker alive. Will be taken down. It's a 5-0 ace. And DDG, they're going to get the first spot in Group A as they take down SYN 2-0.
Yeah, they'll happily take that one. Very dominant showcase coming out of DDG. The Shaco proves me wrong. Showcases that sometimes champion mastery is all you need. Evil Lobster coming up with a phenomenal dub there. But realistically, everything that got rolling in this game came down to just Brandy getting those 3 kills. Completely unanswered this match. Due in part to a little bit of unsung hero here, Mr. Kiwiism, having a lot of phenomenal hostile takeovers, zoning off. I think also Syndicate not playing to their strengths, playing fights very split when DDG thrive in those scenarios. No heal cut, as you said. They even finished the match with no heal cut there. Lesser able to heal himself back up multiple times that game. Just a bit head scratching from Syndicate, I think. Like, you tried to go on the Aatrox. Obviously that fight was pretty split. Didn't work that time. But then when, you know, your back is essentially against the wall, you try to do it again and it just doesn't work out because you just don't have the damage. Instead of just getting your Jinx a reset. Quick, easy reset. Try to find the Shaco, try to find the, like, Tristana, try to find the Renata. Just unable to come up with that one. And DDG come out victorious and secure themselves the first seed in a very, very dominant showcase. A little slow at the early game, but that doesn't matter if you're willing to take over the game when it matters.
Yeah, but I think the important thing to note is that even with Syndicate dropping this game, not going to be able to take that first seed, it's still going to be that they're still going to be able to have that second spot. They're still going to have their playoff spot. They're going to be able to maybe bounce back later on. They're going to get another shot. They can take this time, take this experience, and come back stronger. And hopefully that's exactly what they do. I mean, they were still undefeated going into week 6. Like, that's a very, very big statement. Losing to the other undefeated team, if you're going to lose somewhere, this is probably the best spot to lose, you know?
Yeah, and if you're going to look into like a finals run, right, this gives you a lot of information, right? They did intentionally let the Shaco go through so they can kind of see some ideas and how they're going to play around with that Shaco, right? Especially like the level 1/2 invade, depending on how you want to look at it. That's very big information on like how to proceed forward with like your early game plan. Also, I think if they just had a little bit of a better draft at that level 1 fight in particular, they could have maybe completely took over the game right then and there, get Jinx a few resets as a complete bloodbath, but still, I really appreciate how slow and methodical DDG played until they knew they could take over the game.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, at the end of the day, what's most important is DropDeadGaming. They are going to get that 2-0. They are going to get that victory, and they are going to secure themselves that first seed in Group A. But with that, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out here to a couple things. Titan is returning next week after our week break here, obviously. Like I said, little impromptu stream going on here for our Immortal League, little rescheduled match. Kind of a banger though, you know, 2 undefeated teams facing off each other, always exciting stuff. But we are returning next week on Monday. Also, TED it will be showcased next week as well, so be sure to check that out. And as for me, that'll do it. Thanks for having me, of course, Toki. Always a pleasure to cast with you, dog. And yeah, I had fun.
Yeah, always a ton of fun. Hopefully the two of us can cast together more often in the future. But with that, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for watching this holiday special Titan Immortal League game. And yeah, we'll see you next week as we are back to our regular schedule. So thank you all for watching. Have a good night, and we'll see you soon.
Peace.